This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. What is it, do you suspect, that's wrong or different about the conservative brain? That nuance can never be a part of the conversation. It's either or thinking. It's always a binary. And further, why do you think that culture wars have to be the item that sparks a frenzy within their base? Why do they always go to the culture war aspect? You can't love your country if you criticize any part of its history. You can't kneel during the national anthem, or you hate America. It's perplexing to me. Enter Tom Cotton, Harvard's own hee-haw. The gentleman with a neck like a bungee cord. When Tom Cotton goes on vacation, I'm sure his family use his long and prodigious neck as a zipline cord. Tom Cotton took to the United States Senate floor yesterday to give a speech about Thanksgiving and to try to whip up a culture war around our history and the history of the Pilgrims. We are taught in America in elementary school kind of a fanciful tale of the Pilgrims, a kumbaya story. Just like we are or were about Christopher Columbus, with little rhymes and to make it quaint, to make it palatable or understandable for a child. Ultimately, it's a fairy tale, because what we were taught about Christopher Columbus and the Pilgrims is untrue. Yet Tom Cotton, a United States Senator, duly elected by the people of Arkansas, took to the floor of the United States Senate while a pandemic is raging. 172,391 new infections yesterday, and Tom Cotton wants to talk about pumpkin pie. 1,923 Americans lost their life to coronavirus. 12.6 million Americans are unemployed right now. It's been 7 months. 7 months since the federal government did anything to assuage the suffering and misery economically of Americans, since they sent out the paltry sum in a stimulus check, in advance on future tax returns. 7 months. And Tom fucking Cotton wants to talk about pumpkin pie and the Pilgrims. So I'm going to play a little bit. I'm going to play this segment of his speech on the Senate floor. It's about 2 minutes and 30 seconds or so. There'll be the timer at the bottom if you want to skip ahead. But I'm going to play it, and then I'm going to stop it intermittently, I think, to talk about some of the idiotic things that this Harvard-educated goon has to say.
Now the Thanksgiving season is upon us, and once again we have much to give thanks for. But this year we ought to be especially thankful for our ancestors, the Pilgrims, on their 400th anniversary. Their faith, their bravery, their wisdom places them in the American pantheon. Alongside the patriots of 1776, the Pilgrims of 1620 deserve the honor of American founders. Sadly, however, there appear to be few commemorations, parades, or festivals to celebrate the Pilgrims this year. Perhaps in part because revisionist charlatans of the radical left have lately claimed the previous year as America's true founding. Nothing could be further from the truth. The Pilgrims and their compact, like the founders and their declaration, form the true foundation of America. So count me in Coolidge's camp. On this anniversary, a century ago, he proclaimed, "It is our duty and the duty of every true American."
What is a true American Tom Cotton. Interesting that you slid it in there with an attack on what you referred to as revisionist charlatans of the radical left. And then a very subtle dig on the 1619 Project with Nikole Hannah-Jones in New York Times. So you're attacking an award-winning journalistic piece about the kidnapping, rape, torture, murder of Africans, taking them to America and enslaving them for hundreds of years, while venerating genocidal maniacs in the Pilgrims. This, folks, is white supremacy. That is what this is. This is a white, Southern United States Republican senator attacking black history, actual history in the United States, and fabricating history to whitewash the crimes and the murders conducted by white people. What is a true American, Tom Cotton?
To reassemble in spirit in the cabin of the Mayflower, rededicate ourselves to the Pilgrims' great work by re-signing and reaffirming the document that has made mankind of all the earth more glorious. Some, too many, may have lost the civilizational self-confidence needed to celebrate the Pilgrims. Just today, for instance, the New York Times called this story a myth and a caricature, in the food section, no less. Maybe the politically correct editors of the debunked 1619 Project are now responsible for pumpkin pie recipes at the Times as well.
Civilizational self-confidence. You're verging dangerously close to white identity politics, Senator Cotton. You stretch-necked freak. You know who talks about the benefits of Western civilization and what the earth owes to Western civilization? White supremacists talk like this. So, you're either a white supremacist, Tom Cotton, or you're just coincidentally using their language. Wonder which it is.
But I, for one, still have the pride and confidence of our forebears. So here today, I speak in the spirit of that cabin, and I reaffirm that old compact. As we head into the week of Thanksgiving, I'll be giving thanks this year in particular to our Pilgrim fathers and the timeless lessons they bequeathed to our great nation. For as Coolidge observed, Plymouth Rock does not mark a beginning or an end. It marks a revelation of that which is without beginning and without end. So may God continue to bless this land, and may He bless the memory of the Pilgrims of 1620. I extend my best wishes to you and to your family for a Thanksgiving as happy and peaceful as the first Thanksgiving.
Bless those white pilgrims, the genocidal murderers of native peoples. God bless them and their memories. Tom Cotton. One, I'm going to get to Nikole Hannah-Jones from New York Times' 1619 Project and her very poignant Twitter clapback. But then I'm going to read something from a historian from Smithsonian Magazine about exactly what kind of people these pilgrims, these peaceful, pumpkin pie-eating pilgrims were. Nikole Hannah-Jones tweeted, "It is literally a caricature. And if the 1619 Project was in charge of recipes, everyone knows it would be sweet potato pie, not pumpkin pie, Senator Tom Cotton." Look, I don't want to start a controversy here in the comments, but I'm team sweet potato pie. In my house, I'm the cook in my house, and I don't make pumpkin pie. I make sweet potato pie. She went on to say, also 250,000 Americans dead, but I'm glad your priority is the New York Times food section. Because it's anything you can do when you're a Republican to spark a culture war. That is what is most important. That is your objective. Because you don't have the truth on your side. You don't have history on your side. You don't have the facts or the data or the research or the science on your side. You got to go with the culture war. Good job, United States Senator Tom Cotton. Excuse me. And then finally she says, imagine calling the 1619 Project debunked in order to defend a childish Thanksgiving myth. Amazing times we are in. And that is exactly what Tom Cotton is doing here. He is defending a myth, putting forward a mythology as though it is actual history. So the Smithsonian Magazine wrote this article back in 2013. This isn't new news. Entitled, The Shocking Savagery of America's Early History. Bernard Bailyn, one of our greatest historians, shines his light on the nation's dark ages. And with it is this piece of artwork from the Granger collection. A 19th century wood engraving depicts the slaughter. The peaceful Pilgrims massacred the Pequots and destroyed their fort near Stonington, Connecticut in 1637. Reading from the article, Bailyn has not painted a pretty picture. Little wonder he calls it the barbarous years and spares us no detail of the terror, desperation, degradation, and widespread torture. Do you really know what being flayed alive means? The skin is torn from the face and head, and the prisoner is disemboweled while still alive. And yet, somehow, amid the merciless massacres, plural, were elements that gave birth to the rudiments of civilization, or in Bailyn's evocative phrase, the fragile integument of civility, that would evolve 100 years later into a virtual Renaissance culture. A bustling string of self-governing, self-sufficient, defiantly expansionist colonies alive with an increasingly sophisticated and literate political and intellectual culture that would coalesce into the rationale for the birth of American independence. All the while shaping and sometimes misshaping the American character. It's a grand drama in which the glimmers of enlightenment barely survive the savagery. What Yeats called the blood-dimmed tide, the brutal establishment of slavery, the race wars with the original inhabitants that Bailyn is not afraid to call genocidal, the full, horrifying details of which have virtually been erased. Virtually been erased because of individuals like Tom Cotton, like Republicans who want some kind of a fairy tale for American history and not the facts. What's the phrase, if we forget our history, we're doomed to repeat it? Is that what they'd like? For us to forget? To not know our true history and learn the lessons from it? The article briefly continues. Look at the peaceful Pilgrims. Our William Bradford. He goes to see the Pequot War battlefield and is appalled. He said, the stink of heaps of dead bodies was too much. Bailyn is speaking of one of the earliest and bloodiest encounters between our peaceful pumpkin pie eating Pilgrims and the original inhabitants of the land they wanted to seize, the Pequots. But for Bailyn, the mercenary motive is less salient than the theological. And here we have Tom Cotton and others like him. It's not just dumbass Tom Cotton. Harvard educated. Listen, if the stock of a Harvard education is lowering, is plummeting, it's because of ding-dongs like Tom Cotton. Professor Bailyn was at Harvard for 60 years. Harvard professor, historian, lauded historian. not some idiot talking about the radical left, revisionist charlatans. They've tried this with Christmas. Remember Trump talking about Merry Christmas? We can say it again. I called the stores and made them say Merry Christmas, not Happy Holiday. All of this is nonsense. It is a distraction at a time when we do not need a distraction. We need to keep our eye on the ball in the midst of a plague that has killed 250,000 Americans. 11.6 million Americans have been infected by the coronavirus. Almost 2,000 people yesterday died. And Tom Cotton wants to talk about the Pilgrims and the New York Times food section. I would love to know if you dissent about this. I get a lot of love and a lot of kudos, a lot of agreement, and I love it. But I'd love for someone to step up with a little courage and defend this nonsense. 714-576-4054. Email me daily@dollemore.com. I'd love to hear from you. I'd also love it if you would consider supporting my work here on YouTube. For fewer than $2 a month, you can become a channel member. Click the little join button there. There are tiers, there are rewards. I send out stickers. I'd love to have you connect with me here and help support my work. You can also buy some merch. I've got some shirts that say "Be genuine, take care of one another." They've turned out really sharp. People are really enjoying them. If you've bought one, I'd love to have you tag yourself on Twitter. Tag me on Twitter. Let me see it. Follow me on social media. We're going to get through this together. I appreciate you guys. I love you. I'll see you next time. Until then, be genuine. Take care of one another.